Hello. Got some familiar faces, some new faces. So everybody welcome. So we're going to jump in and get started. Couple of announcements first. Couple of announcements. All right. So at the end of the training, you will get, if you want more information on, coming in here, if you want more information on TC training, anything that Courtney has to offer, she will actually be giving you the information and a code. I'll put a code in the chat, and then I'll also put it up on the replay on the Facebook group. You'll get a code for 20% off her program if it's something that you're interested in learning and doing, which is the TC Playbook. So that is awesome and nice of Courtney to do that. For those that haven't been here before, welcome. One thing I want to let you know, I kind of put an announcement out on the Facebook group. I don't know if everybody saw it, but I'll just let you know what's going on. So within the Elevate Mastermind group, which is the 12 module coaching course that I have that coaches you through everything, right? It's the step-by-step for exactly how to do your job. Anyway, within that, I have now added free leads. So this is a way and a source that I figured out that I can be able to offer leads for everybody around the country. It doesn't matter which brokerage you're with. You don't have to join EXP. I'm not joining EXP. That's always the question that most people will ask. And that's not a thing for this. So it is free leads. It's got a 25% referral fee on the back end. But other than that, it doesn't cost you anything. And it's pretty awesome because we are tailoring it to your specific zip codes to make sure the company, vice president of the company, is actually working with me to make sure that whatever zip codes my agents that are in the Elevate Mastermind, whatever zip code you're working in, they are going to buy and push more leads into that area so that we make sure that you do have leads and good leads in the area. So they are all on board. It's pretty stinking awesome. So that's just included with the Elevate Mastermind group. I've got 2 spots left for this first rollout, 100 spots total. And I've got 2 more left. We're going to do 3 batches of 33 that we're rolling out. So I've got 2 spots left now. So if you're interested, all you have to do is go sign up for the Elevate program. So just go to agentleader.com and go down to the Elevate Mastermind group. And if you go purchase that, you can do a payment plan, or you can do the full, it's $997 or it's $197 a month. So either way, to try to make it affordable for you, it will get you all of the 12 modules. It's 24 classes of training. It's everything I do in my business and have done in my business to get to where I'm at, and I still do every day. It's that. It is weekly coaching. So we have a weekly group coaching and accountability on Wednesday mornings for an hour and a half. And then you also, on top of that, are going to get free leads. So it's like the freaking cheapest thing that you could possibly ever get for all of the information and the leads on top of it. It's awesome. So that's my soapbox for a second. We're going to move on to Courtney. So Courtney is a trooper. She has got some awesome information for us. She's going to give you a really great overview about TCs from the whole span of TCs, whether you want to be a TC added in as an additional part of your business, or if it's someone that you want to hire a TC, what you should be looking for, right, if you're looking for a TC. So I'm going to turn it over to her, Courtney Rosier. Right, make sure I say it right. Okay, awesome.
Close enough.
Right. Okay, so I'm gonna pass it to her, and she's gonna take it from here.
Great. Well, Lisa, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to share what I do to other real estate professionals. So thank you. You guys, I just want to let you know that you might hear some background noise. I had an unexpected road trip today. My mother flew into town on a red eye last night. I'm in Georgia. She flew in from Las Vegas last night on a red eye, got in this morning and needed me to drive her 3 hours for a friend of hers. Unfortunately, their sibling passed away. So she's at a funeral while I'm here. But I want to just share that that's the whole beauty of what I do and what we all do as real estate professionals. I'm also a licensed agent myself, but the opportunity to be able to work from anywhere. I didn't have to let anybody down, didn't have to cancel. It may be a little noisy. They hopefully will not kick me out, but as long as I have Wi-Fi and an outlet, I am good to go. So that is one of the things that attracts me even more so to the TC business, even more than the real estate business. Just a little bit about me. When I decided to get my license, I decided 6.5 years ago to get my license. My twins at the time were 3 or 4, so they were going to be starting pre-K the following year. And I began to think about my life and how I wanted it to look. I thought about long commutes and having to rush home and get my kids and just the hustle and bustle of having, I had never had kids. I had my first kids when I was in my 30s. So, to go from having a kind of a fancy free life to now considering going back to work after I have kids, it was very overwhelming for me. So I went back to work. And in that year, I was like, okay, this is not going to work. When they start school, I want to be home. I want to, have that flexibility. I don't want a boss looking at me crazy. If I want to go to a assembly or something for my child, or if my child is sick. So that is kind of my why and why I decided to get my real estate license. Well, when I got my license, I got into it for about a year. I got a mentor, and she was a top producing agent, and she showed me all the ropes. But I realized that I'm a very ambitious person. So I wanted to be a top producing agent. But the way that my life was set up, I wasn't set up where I can really have the time to take off my business in that way, to be somebody that can meet with several different people a day and drive from here, there, and everywhere. So in doing that, I had to step back, realign my purpose and my why, and think about what my strengths were and how I could potentially still make a good living in real estate, um, with my license. And so during my mentorship with the mentor that I found, we found that my strength was really in the contracts. I love to just be able to sit somewhere quiet and just hunker down and do work. Most real estate agents hate that. They hate paperwork. They hate sitting still. They like to schmooze and rub elbows. That's cool for me, but I'm an introverted extrovert. So I enjoy people to an extent. So for me, the TC business, it just was a natural progression for me. Once I realized that I stopped trying to compare myself to my mentor and other agents around me that were out here just really getting it and, hustling, bustle, really hustling and, making, you know, 300 plus $1,000 a year. Yes, I want that, but not at the cost, the time cost. So ironically, the name of my TC business is Time Freedom TC, because I'm big on time freedom. I want to provide that to agents, but I also want to have a little bit of that for myself. And so in doing that, I can do things like this today, drive up 3 hours from my house and still be able to get work done. And yes, I could be doing something else, but I kind of look at it like I have a work life blend as opposed to a work life balance. I believe work life balance is a myth. So this business gives me the opportunity to blend. So my business revolves around my life as opposed to my life revolving around my business. So I'm going to share my slide with you. And if you guys have any questions, please put them in the chat. I love participation. I see we have one brave person, Colleen, who is showing us her beautiful face.
I know. Is
anybody is brave? Right. If anybody else wants to be brave, show us your face. We love the interaction, smiles, and things like that. So I just so happened to have the blazer on today because I left the house, but if this was in my home office, I might only have my top on and some pajama bottoms or something. But anyway, so let me share my screen with you guys. Give me 1 second. Yeah. That's not what I want. I'm sorry, guys. Hold on 1 second.
I'm going to make a comment while you're getting that going. Oh, look like you got it actually. I'm just going to
Okay.
say,
Yeah, you can go ahead.
it's really interesting. I looked at the stats on men to women, and the men who watch this don't kill me when you watch the replay, but I looked at the stats for men to women, and there are more female realtors than there are male realtors. And as I was thinking about that, as my husband's got his license now and I've got my license, and you think, man, why are women so good at this? Because we have to juggle the children and the household and the dishes
Right.
and the cooking and the laundry and the
Right.
right. We have to juggle all that stuff. So it's like it's almost like a natural field for us because we're
Mhm.
taking care of people just like we're taking care of children all the time. I
That's
really
right.
think that it really just carries over very
And
well.
we're able to, and I called it a work-life blend, but it's that work-life multitasking
It
that we
is.
already do.
It is.
Um, and
Yep.
just figuring out a way to just make it work, you know.
Yep. Really
So
crazy. So okay, that
I,
was my only
yeah.
comment. Go ahead.
So I want to tell you guys how my TC business actually helped me survive the pandemic. Last year, March 13th, 2020, I remember because it was my friend's birthday dinner, and we were out, and there were talks that, or actually we had just found out that starting that following Monday, that there was a possibility that school would be out indefinitely, or we would be doing digital learning indefinitely. And I just remember at the time not having a worry at all. I mean, I was concerned about COVID, but I was not concerned at all about the logistics and what I was going to do with my kids, what I was going to do for work, how I was going to get to work, if I was going to go into the office, and if I had to go, what I was going to do with the kids. Like, I was actually happy to have the opportunity to sleep in a little bit that following week. I didn't know it was going to last. Now we're a year. We went a full year digital learning. I didn't know it was going to last that long, but and it was difficult to juggle, but I didn't have to uproot and just, it didn't cause a big uproar in my life, that particular part of the pandemic. Yes, the pandemic has affected us all, but as far as my income, well, I don't know about you guys. I'm in Georgia, in Atlanta, and I feel like we were back open by April. In Atlanta, they didn't close anything down. I recently went to Birmingham, Alabama, like last month, and we went to an Applebee's, and they were like, "Oh, it's going to be a 30-minute wait," but there was like nobody in there. And so I was like, "Why are we?" Being from Atlanta, I don't know anything about the restaurant social distancing anymore. So I'm like, why do we have to wait? There's nobody in here. And my husband had to remind me, ma'am, there's a whole pandemic going on everywhere else but Atlanta. So they had, to stagger the tables. But anyway, um, this was in my opinion, pandemic proof, homeschool proof business. I'm living proof that you can do it and still do your real estate business. I still sell real estate. I'm a licensed agent myself. But what it does is it's given me the opportunity, or I would say it's given me the confidence or the freedom to only work with referrals, to pick who I want to work with. If somebody is giving me problems, I mean, I don't really have problem child, but I mean, I don't have to go after cold leads. I, do some marketing online. I do Instagram and Facebook. Those people already know me in some way. I'm already interacting with them. They're already warm. And I may close 12 to 15 deals a year for real estate. So that equates to like one client or so that I'm working with at a time. It's not overwhelming. It is a little bit in this market, working with some buyers, but it's not, I'm not stressed about that money on the real estate side. So I've got money coming in there, as well as the TC business, which is my day-to-day business. And I also have an assistant that helps me with that. Um, so let's talk about some myths. Oh, sorry, guys. I didn't want this to be automatic. Um, So most people think that you can only make money in real estate buying and selling homes. But as you know, based off of what I just told you, that is a myth. You can, there are so many ways. I mean, I know you guys all know, yeah, that you can flip homes, of course, you can buy and hold homes. We all know that. But a sneaker is the TC business. That's a business that not everybody knows about, but it is in high demand. Real estate agents, like I said, are mostly going to be your high D personalities. This TC business works great for personalities that are, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Myers-Briggs test and things like that, the personality test. But this type of business works well with somebody who is more scientific, cautious, somebody that likes predictability and step by step type things. Um, so this is a way other than that you can use your license other than buying and selling real estate. Now, since you guys are all real estate are all licensed, most of you probably, um, you know, this would be a way to ensure that you can charge kind of top tier pricing. But you can expect to make anywhere from 350 to $500 per file, depending on what market you're in. Or, you know, and if you're looking for an TC, a good TC is probably going to be between those prices. 300 is probably a little bit on the lower side, but it just depends again on your market. I've seen it run the gamut. Um, so you don't have to have a real estate license to do it. So like agents, if you're looking to hire somebody as a TC, um, look more so at how they would fit into your personality, or you know, or the personality of your business, as opposed to whether or not they're licensed. Because as a TC, as long as they're organized, they have checklists and things like that. Like for instance, I'm licensed in Georgia, but I have clients in Ohio, Kentucky, Florida, Texas, um, so far, and I said Florida. So these people have come to me, and I don't know their mark. I don't know their license laws or anything like that. I'm only licensed in Georgia, but because I'm familiar enough with the contract to close process, I know the questions to ask a new agent in a new market. I know how to, once I get those questions answered, I create a checklist just for that market, or I ask them to provide me with whatever they have for their broker, things like that. And then I create my own checklist. So you don't have to be licensed. I say that to say, like, I'm not licensed in all states, but I take on new states all the time. Um, So just let's talk about what a TC does in case anybody is not familiar. So a TC basically assists a real estate agent or broker by performing the administrative duties required during each stage, from the binding agreement date or under contract date, whatever your market calls it, to the closing of escrow. So when I created my course is called the TC Playbook. And for some reason, Playbook was just always in my mind as what my title, or what the name of my program was going to be. And I had in my mind like a football playbook. Now, I don't follow football at all. I'm not a sports person. So I had my husband, but I was hung up on this playbook, and I wanted it to resemble a playbook. So I called my husband in my office one day and had him write on my whiteboard what a play looks like, and like what does each position play. So in telling him what I do, we figured out that the real estate agent is like the quarterback, and the TC is like the wide receiver. The TC's job is, so the real estate agent is going to hike that ball or throw that ball, I guess they would throw it, to the wide receiver. The ball is the contract, obviously. And it's our job as the TC to take that contract, hold it close to our chest, run that contract downfield to get to the goal, which is the closing table. In the process of doing that, we're going to be faced with lots of potential offenses that we have to defend. We have to defend that contract. So the offenses would be um, earnest money. Was the earnest money paid or not? That can be something that could cause the contract to, uh, to terminate or to, we're protecting earnest money. So we need to make sure that it was turned in timely and went to the right place and things like that. We're also, if there's a due diligence period, we have due diligence periods here in Georgia. You may have an option, call it an option or an inspection period. That's a time frame for us where the buyer can terminate for any reason. So we are guarding that due diligence period for that buyer, because if they change their mind or if we can't come up with new negotiations before that period is over, then they may lose their earnest money. So we're helping the agent help the buyer protect their earnest money. The next thing that we're protecting and tracking and milestones that we're keeping track of is the finance and the appraisal contingency. We need to make sure that we're following up with that lender every week to make sure that we're on track to close, make sure we got the loan commitment, find out when the appraisal is due back. When we get the date, call to make sure we got the appraisal in. If the appraisal is low, working with the agent to get an amendment to renegotiate, for them to renegotiate the price. Now, I will say, agents, you are still responsible for being an agent. So you still have to, we're not assistants. We're not, if you want to give me 25%, we can talk about that, but we charge a flat fee. So we're there to help guide you. We're there to help remind you of these important dates so that you can do what's necessary to make sure that everything is on the up and up. The final thing that we're doing is we're making sure that the closing is happening. We're scheduling the closing. We're making sure that the lender or the title company has the package ahead of time. And a lot of times the things that most of our stuff is, I would say my job is like 98% email. I don't do a lot of phone talking. Now, some TCs, they may, but for me, in order for me to operate at a high level, I need to be able to have some automations in my business. Now, I still push the button and customize the email, but it's already telling me when to send these emails, if that makes sense. I have a software that does that, but the agent is still going to be responsible. If there are negotiations that need to happen, then the agent will do those negotiations, and then they'll go to the TC and say, hey, TC, could you do an amendment for me for this or that? Most of the time, the amendment drafting, that's something that's usually offered by a licensed TC. Unlicensed TCs may or may not, depending on the state, be able to provide that service.
Hey, I have a thought too, just while you're talking about this.
Sure.
So whether you guys, if you become interested in either taking the course yourself or hiring someone, the other thought I just had was like, because I do have an assistant and I have her licensed as an agent, but I'm sitting here thinking, oh, not a terribly bad idea to actually have her go through the course so that she can be a little bit more educated and I don't have to train her on what I want her to do to help me. Because I picked her up not because she was an agent to start with, but because she was the type of personality and, the person that I knew would fit well with what I needed help with. So if you ever get to a point where you feel like you might need an assistant, you could pick your own assistant that's not necessarily licensed yet and then send them through the course so they can learn what you want them to do. Whether you pay them I just pay her a flat salary every month. So, you know what I mean? It doesn't always have to be a transaction amount if you're hiring them to work for you specifically. So just another.
Right. And I think the quality of agent increases the more you know about contracts. That's why I was so involved. I was so intrigued with it. And I think my mentor may have told me that before, like, if you know these contracts, and I don't know like every state's contract, but when I receive it, I'm able to go through the contract and understand exactly what that means and how it relates to how I do it here and just customize it. So I do have people all the time send their assistants or somebody that they're looking to make a TC, because a TC is only handling contract to close. So when the TC gets involved, most TCs, so I'll talk about my business. I do listing input and I do listing input. I don't do listing management, so I don't coordinate photos and things like that. But when an agent wants me to handle their listing input, I have them send me a form with all of the information about the home that I wouldn't be able to see on pictures. Send me the pictures, send me the listing agreement, um, and that's it. That's all they have to do. And then we have two MLSs here that we have to put our contracts in or our listings in. So I put them in both MLSs. I handle coming up with the description, which that usually is the time waster that people, it's like, oh, it seems simple enough, but it takes a little bit of time to come up with a description. So we put the photos, we put them in order. Like nothing burns my biscuits more than to see horrible photos, number one. But then when you got the backyard photo first, and then you got a living room in between that, and it just doesn't make sense. So
Yeah.
we make it in order, like, we really pretty it up. We make sure that we upload that listing agreement to their broker portal, whatever compliance system that they use, so that they're compliant there. So all of that is involved in listing input. And so we charge a flat fee of $100 for that. Then the contract to close portion, that comes, we come along when you go binding. The moment you go under contract, you would forward that contract to us. And we would start our onboarding process. So our onboarding process consists of going through the contract, making sure all the signatures are there. We abstract that contract into our software that we use. I use software, but for about the first 2 years of my business, I use paper checklists. So it's possible to do both, but obviously as you grow in your business, you're gonna want to scale into a software. But I'm able to put the information from the contract into my software. So all the parties of the contract, all of their email addresses, I'm able to put in all of the important dates of the contract, the purchase price, obviously, earnest money, special stipulations in the contract, everything about the contract goes in my software. And from there, my software will generate an introduction email. That email will go out to my agent client, the co-op agent, the lender, regardless of which side I'm on, the lender, the attorney or the title company, and then and it's addressed to our client. So whether it's the buyer or the seller. Some agents feel some kind of way about sending an email to our client and copying everybody. I don't. I don't think it's a big deal. We kind of go by the honor system, so I don't feel like the other side is going to be emailing our client and things like that. But there's two schools of thought on that. But anyway, my email goes to everybody, and it's addressed to our client. If it's addressed to the buyer, my email will say something along the lines of, "Hi, I'm Courtney. I'm with Time Freedom TC. I'm going to be assisting Lisa throughout the duration through closing. I've attached a contract summary for your review, as well as important dates below." So in the body of the email, it's got all this important stuff in it from the contract. And also there's a contract summary with all of the people in the contract and the important dates. And then I also make sure I let the buyer know to let me know when they plan to deliver or wire their earnest money, as well as when they have scheduled their scheduled their inspection. So I, as a TC, I don't coordinate as far as scheduling. I don't schedule out inspections. Most of my agents don't either, but depending on your market, you may do that for buyers, but we generally will give them some referrals and let them call because they have to pay for it anyway. They have to, do it along their schedule anyway. But the extent of coordinating that I do is, hey, let me know when you plan to do your inspection. And then at the bottom of that email to the listing agent, I ask them to let me know if there are any time constraints with regards to the inspections, confirm the utilities are on, and provide access details like the CVS code or combination code. So that gets the conversation started, on just everybody knows what needs to happen, what they're doing. So that's what my intro email looks like. If it's the seller, of course, I'm not saying all that. I'm just letting the buyer's agent know what the CVS code is and whatever. So that's the onboarding process. Once I do that, that email, like I said, goes to all the parties. So it opens the escrow. Then I upload the contract and the important documents into the broker compliance system. That's another main piece that we help agents with, is we are making sure that they're compliant with whatever their broker requirements are. Most brokerages have something like SkySlope or some other software. The beauty is you don't have to train us. To me, once you've worked with one, software system, you should be able to figure it out, figure out how to do it. Um, Also, my software, and even before I had software, I make sure that the important dates, like the contingency periods and the due dates, get put on my agent clients' calendar. So I send email invites for those important dates. So both of us are in the loop um, of when those are, and we get reminded of when it is. So that's pretty much our onboarding process. I'm trying to think if I left anything out. I don't think so. And then throughout the contract, again, like I said, I'm sending an email um, almost every week to the lender to find out specific open-ended, I'm asking specific open-ended questions. Hi, I'm calling to or I'm checking in for an update on the loan. Has the appraisal been ordered? If so, when is it due back? Like, I'm not just saying, hey, I'd like to get an update on the loan. Nobody's going to answer that. Um, and then once the appraisal is in, hey, finance contingency is expiring on this date. Do we have a loan commitment? That usually goes out like 3 days before the finance contingency expiration date. So I have these templated emails. Yes, they're templated, they're somewhat automated, but I have to go in and do it. So it's not completely automated where you're feeling like you're not getting a human touch. Um, we're making sure that the repairs are completed if those are called for. Just everything that's in that contract, we're helping you make sure that it gets done. So I meant to actually put this I already talked about this, but this just goes to talk about like how I love the TC portion. Like, even as a real estate agent, you still have to be somewhat um, available in the same city. If you have a bunch of buyers, if I have a bunch of agent clients, I don't have to be in the same city. I can be anywhere. So this is my husband and I in the Maldives working at sunrise. Like, just I like stuff like that. That's just me. So that's what I like about this part of the business. And my clients don't feel any way about it because I'm still getting the stuff done. I have things in place to help me make sure that things are getting done. So I'm not working the entire vacation, but I'm still able to touch my business and not feel like I'm overwhelmed doing it, even if I am on vacation, if that makes sense. So we talked a little bit about TCs being in demand. I don't know about where you guys are, but in the Atlanta market, it is absolutely bananas. We are in a strong seller's market right now. So my agent clients are busy as heck, and I am, but so like now that I focus more on the TC side, I let my buyer clients know up front. So now, because I can't just take them out on one weekend day and be done, like 2 years ago, I could take a buyer out on a weekend and we're gonna have some options, and their offer's gonna win, at least something's gonna shake, Now I can't promise that, and I can't be out with buyers. Number one, we have to be ready to go within that day. And my days are really busy as a TC. So I have showing assistants help me with showing properties. I pay like $30. It's the cost of doing business for me, but I need my time freedom. I need to be, if I miss in Atlanta, everything is spread out. So me showing somebody a property is going to at least be a 2-hour ordeal. That's going to take up too much precious time. So I still handle the contracts, the negotiations, and things like that. But for the most part, a colleague is going to show them the home. So that just goes to show just how much TCs are in demand right now. We don't have a lot of inventory, but there's still a lot of activity going on in my market. Um,
I think one note too, Courtney, that brings up for me is there's more than one way to do this. Okay? I mean, you need to figure out what's going to work for your family, for your lifestyle, for what you
Right.
want, for your time. So that's important. So that's what works for Courtney, because she doesn't have time to go out and show for 2 hours. Me, I'd rather not sit and do paperwork, and I'd rather be out in my car showing properties for 2.
Right.
Right. So it really, there's the cool thing is there's a lot of options, and it just depends on what fits what you like to do, because you have to enjoy what you are
That's
doing
right.
as well. So
Well, speaking of that, who should consider becoming a virtual TC? This is not for everybody. I mentioned a little bit about the kind of personality one should have. Just because you can do it doesn't mean you're going to want to do it. So you definitely have to, it has to be something that you enjoy, like Lisa said. Like I said, I have no problem sitting for hours on end at my desk. That would probably kill Lisa. So it's like you
what
have to know yourself and know what drives you, and that sort of thing. Like I really don't like to have to get dressed every single day. So it just works, for a certain type of personality. Um, so who would this work for? Obviously, you guys, real estate, and I put everybody in the box of real estate enthusiasts. So somebody who's already an agent, whether you're struggling to build your sales side of things, or you just want some additional income to supplement the sales side. Um, but also people who aren't licensed and have a general interest in the real estate industry. There are so many people who bought homes before and just have always, like before I got my license, I would consider myself a real estate enthusiast. I had always had interest. Actually, my career, I was in property management and in commercial real estate. So I've always been real estate sales, residential adjacent to an extent. And so it was just time for me to do it. So real estate enthusiasts would be number one. Of course, stay-at-home moms and dads too. But like you said, biologically, I'm not picking on the dads, but biologically, it's shown that women can multitask. And so this is definitely a multitasking. You have to know how to prioritize things. Um, I get tempted to be pulled away all day long. And sometimes I just have to be like, okay, I can't look at my phone right now. I have to focus on this and just get to the phone. So like I'm working on things like time batching and things like that to kind of, help. I'm always learning new ways to try to make my time more efficient. One thing I do a lot of is I'll be working in the evening if I had things to do during the day that were personal. I may do, I still monitor my emails, and if it's something pressing, I'll handle it. But if it's something that's just on my task list that I need to do, like the commission agreement, if I need to get the commission agreement signed or something like that, well, that can be done anytime as long as it's like 7 days before closing. So, those type of tasks, I may do that in the evening and have my email scheduled to go out at 9 o'clock a.m. So that because I don't want my agents to really expect that I'm going to be working late. I like to set that boundary that my hours are 9 to 6, but they know that I'm going to get the stuff done, within the allotted time frame. Um, so, these are people who want to obviously contribute to the household income without guilt. You got the newborn baby, you got your real estate license, you practice real estate, but your life changed like how my life changed when I realized that my kids were going to be school age soon. That is a opportunity for you to consider a business like this. So to get started, you don't need much. As you can see, I'm not in my office. I take my laptop with me almost everywhere just in case I need it. I have my phone and Wi-Fi. That's all I need. I do in my office have 2 additional monitors, which has been, and I only got that since the pandemic, and it has been a game changer for me. I don't know how I survived without that, But but it's not necessary. As long as you have high speed internet, personal computer, I recommend a laptop if you want to be able to take advantage of that work from anywhere lifestyle that I love so much. Um, you're going to want to start a business bank account. Many of you, if you practice real estate and you've done it, you've legitimized your business, you probably already have a business bank account. I have my businesses separated, so I have two EINs and two bank accounts for my real estate sales and my TC business. I don't think it's necessary. May or may not be. That would be something you would. No CPA told me to do that, so I just kept it the way that way. Um, so you definitely want to talk to a CPA. You definitely want to have an eye for detail because you got it. You can't. The good thing is, to be honest, I was gonna say you can't miss anything, but if there's a missing signature or something like that, when you submit it to broker compliance, they'll tell you and you can just do whatever you need to do to help the agent to get that corrected. But you still want to have an eye for detail yourself. You want to be the type of person that wants to understand why we do the things that we do. You want to be somebody that's open to learning new things so that you can scale your business to different states and things like that. So like my personality is one, they'll be like, do you handle Canada? And I might be like, yeah, just send me, I'll be honest, I'm licensed in Georgia. I would just ask you for a quick, a quick rundown of how you do things, and then I'll handle the rest. Like, you have to have a can do attitude and you have to have the kind of personality that can figure things out first before you start asking a bunch of questions because agents don't have time to answer questions that are general, like how I mentioned how I do my emails. They're always open ended. So if I have a question, it is a question after I've attempted to do it, and I'm like, well, I noticed it sent me this. Why is that? Or it's a specific question, not a question of how do you do this. I'm never gonna just ask a general question like that to an agent because that's why they hired you because they don't have time, to really stop what they're doing to train, so and you also have to have the discipline to be able to work from anywhere, to not be a person that makes excuses. So make sure that you're always, you have to be business minded, I would say. So again, it ain't for everybody. We talked about the personality types that it might not work for. Real estate agents that there are some anomalies that have a high D personality that will do this, but you want to do things that's gonna feed you, feed your passions and that you're gonna enjoy doing. So, you know, obviously we don't do things just for money in this business, or you shouldn't because you won't last.
Another point, Courtney, with that is, and what it makes me think of, it's definitely not something I want to do as a business. But if there was someone struggling in this area for maybe like that, your time management or your process of how you take care of your own paperwork, it would be a great class for someone to take for that too, because then it would teach you all those steps. It really sounds like you have a great system. You're very organized. Like it's very easy for me to understand too, like your thought process, and sounds like you just have everything laid out in a very step-by-step process. So if someone needed to dive in more to the very specifics about how to keep track and keep organized your own transactions,
Yes.
I'd say it would be very beneficial for someone to take your class for that too.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Is this no secret? I don't mind sharing with agents. It's not like, oh, I'm scared agents are going to learn this top secret stuff. This is stuff that, as real estate agents, we should do. It's just hard for a lot of us because that's real estate agents. Most of their personalities this is something that's just not, something that they enjoy. But you should know how. You should know. Yeah.
Yeah. Great course for that.
All right. Well, I guess that's all I had.
That's
I
good.
wasn't sure if there was another slide, but if you guys have any questions, put it in the chat so we can answer those. So just real quick, I want to tell you guys a little bit about the TC Playbook. It is a 5-module course about how to TC, and it's using my framework called the Blitz method. And Blitz is for branding your business, legitimizing your business, imagination, manifestation. I needed an I, so I'm sorry that it's not your business, but it's mindset is important. That's really the first thing that you really need to conquer in order to run any successful business, whether it's your real estate side of things or the TC side. And then the T is for technique. So that's when I get into the entire contract to close process. I have a real estate jargon journal. So, for those people who aren't licensed, who need a refresher on what an escrow is, what a clear to close is, it's a very basic journal for those people. Um, I have what else do I have in there? Just a complete procedures manual. All of my checklists are in there. All of my email templates that I send out to get to statuses and things like that on what's going on when I send them out. Just everything that I do within the business is under techniques. And then the last module is systems. In any business, you need a system for attracting clients, nurturing clients, and then you need a system for the actual job. So I have in there my discovery call magic systems. So I have where I give you the recordings of actual discovery calls that I do and how I land new clients, how I come across confidently when I'm talking to agents to I don't have to sell anything because I'm telling you, you hear Lisa, it's like once you tell what you do and you say it, I'm not always eloquent in what I say. I'm just telling you exactly the process, what I told you guys. And the agent is like, where do I sign? Can
With
you start? I have a contract going binding tomorrow. Can you start? Yes, I can.
yeah.
But I have, so so I talk about attraction, mostly about social media attraction though. So we talk about optimizing your social media pages to attract clients, creating a lead magnet to attract new clients, where you can go find new clients. And so that's the attraction. And then once you get the client, I teach you guys the system that I use for scheduling calls with clients, how I automate those calls afterwards, like what happens after the call, what I send to them. You get the agreement that I use, the service agreement that holds us harmless. You definitely want that. Um, and then the systems that I use that are free, as well as the paid for systems that I have used to track the actual contract. So right now I use a software, but I also share with you all of the checklists that I've used in the past that work just fine up to about when I started to get about 10 contracts a month. It was like, okay, this is getting a little overwhelming with the paper. So yeah, I don't think I'm leaving off too much, but everything is, you'll see the tcplaybook.com/course will show you everything in a deep dive on what's all included. And you can order from there if you want. And if you use the coupon code, what did we say?
AL 20.
AL20,
Yep.
AL20, get 20% off for AL members. And then, so you go to that site if you're looking to find out more about the course and if you're ready to purchase it. If you want to be put on the wait list, you can just go to www.tcplaybook.com.
Quick question for you. What is the cost of your course?
The cost of the course is $597 or 2 payments of $347.
Okay. Not bad. I think even at, $597, you get 20% off, but I think that's a really great education for anybody that might be struggling. I'm even like, oh, I think I might take it myself. And I've been doing it for 6 years, but some of the automation too, and maybe the programs that you use to keep track of all those dates,
Yes.
or I might have my assistant go through it. It's a really
I
great
definitely think it would be great for
education.
your assistant for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I put my all into the course, and it's literally, I'm not It's all information. I don't have a bunch of fluff of me just kind of hearing myself talk. I just want to share the information. So
That's
it's not
awesome.
the most polished probably, but it's the information.
We like real, Courtney. We like real,
Keep it real.
real people. Yeah, we don't like the fluffy. That's not what
Yes,
we're all here for because we're all not fluffy. So that's
exactly.
we're all
Exactly.
working parents, and yep, we are just
Yep.
needing the help. So awesome! I'm so excited to have you today. Thank you so much
This
for
is
coming to TC.
awesome.
It sounds like we have one question from Colleen. She said, "How many contracts are you managing at one time?"
Currently anywhere from 30 to 45 contracts.
So she's got to have a freaking dang good system, you guys, to manage 30 to 45 contracts at
Yeah.
a time.
But
That is
I hear people in a lot of these groups that I'm in, they can manage even more. But because like I said, so the beauty is you can do as many or as little as you want somewhat. Like, of course, if you happen to sign on a really top producing agent, you can't just be picking and choosing, which if she's whatever they send you, that's what you're going to do.
right.
Um, but because I have the two businesses, that works just fine for me. Doing that is a sweet spot amount for me. But I've made six figures in the business, and when I did, I felt like I was working a little bit more than I wanted to. So again, it's about how much you want to work, and that sort of thing. Like I still probably do a good 40 hours a week, just like a regular
Yeah, regular
career,
job. But in your sweatpants.
Yeah, yeah,
Regular
right.
career in your sweatpants.
It's not a get rich quick or something that you're gonna work only if you want to work. Like you're gonna still work, but it's the flexibility for me. It's like you said, not having to get dressed if I don't want to today, or being able to get dressed and go to my favorite watering hole and work on a patio. You know.
Yep. Yep, for sure. That's great. Well, and I think that matches some personalities 100% too. Like I said, whether it's somebody who wants to supplement the income, loves paperwork, just absolutely loves paperwork and has that type of personality, or
Yeah.
wants the education for their own business as a realtor so that you can figure out how to better run your own business. I think it's a good
Yes.
education for that too. So that makes me really excited actually, because I think that's awesome. So
Yes. Oh, also, I didn't mention for the course, there is a membership only Facebook group. Once you're enrolled in the course, I'm in the group, so you can ask questions as you complete the modules. We do monthly accountability calls. So I'm present for those to assist in that. I also have a free group on Facebook for which is really active. It's called the Work from Anywhere Movement. So definitely join that as well. And I'm gonna be doing some more lives in that group and things like that. But yeah,
awesome. Thank you so much, you guys. I hope you all learned something. We got some people saying thanks for the great information, and
awesome.
that was really, I think that will be really helpful to a lot of people, Courtney, and I'm really glad I got to meet you. So
Same here. Same here. I love your group.
appreciate you.
So if anybody has any questions after this, feel free to email me. I'll put that in here real quick. I'm at hello at the tcplaybook.com.
Awesome. Hello at the tcplaybook.com. There you go, guys.
Awesome. Very nice
All right.
seeing everybody. And thank you guys so much for your participation.
We appreciate it. We're glad to see you all. Next week, gosh, you guys, I believe next week we are on to a guest presenter who's going to go over Facebook marketing and a little bit of how-tos and cost of and all that good stuff for Facebook marketing. So that'll be a fun one as well. Love the
Be on that
guest.
one.
Coupon code again is AL20. So for Agent Leader, AL20 is your coupon code to be able to get in there. You're welcome. And then just quick more, if anybody is ready to join Elevate Group, hit me up. You can message me. I'm gonna be live in the Boost group here pretty soon, giving a little bit more information about how the lead system works. But if that's something anybody wants to do, then we need to get you moving because man, we're gonna be dishing out leads here pretty quick. So Awesome. All right. Well, everybody have a really great
Awesome.
weekend. And glad to have you here. So thanks everybody for participating.
Thank you.
See
Have a
you.
good one.
Have a good one, guys.